Well, Mark Jennings led this news organisation for 22 years and he joins us now. Mark, I'm going to put this in simple terms that we can all understand. This is a cluster, isn't it?
Well, I think you've left a word that usually follows cluster. Yes, it is a total cluster. You know, what is TV3 now? You know, without a news service, it's not a proper TV station anymore. It's going to be probably a cable station run out of LA, and I don't see why New Zealanders would want to come and look at a station that doesn't offer something more to this country. And news filled
a vital hole there, didn't it? It feels grim. It feels like the government will not be riding to the rescue.
No, I think Christopher Luxon and Melissa Lee's response today, very poor. Just, you know, they are losing an iconic news service here. And they just don't seem to realise that. And for Melissa Lee to say, oh, there's Sky. OK, so what? Sky are going to go and start a full service news? That's not going to happen. That's just crazy. It just shows, I think, a level of ignorance amongst our politicians. The one politician who I usually don't agree with, Winston Peters, he got it right. It's a disaster, and it's a disaster for democracy in this country.
Yeah, well, what does it mean for news in this country? I mean, I think of places like the Press Gallery, and it feels crazy that one television network will be left to cover everything that happens there. Natural disasters, these are vital democratic functions for audiences, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Those big events need significant coverage. But also, I think, when you mentioned the Press Gallery, you know, politicians need different media organisations. They need two news services. Look, if you go to Australia, Victoria, say, state, roughly the size of New Zealand, it's got 3 commercial stations, 1 state broadcaster and some other regional stations. You know, New Zealand, 1 state-owned TV station. This is crazy, and the politicians should be trying to look for a serious remedy to this.
You have led this newsroom for over 2 decades. You were the news director here. Can you put into words what people are feeling in this building or who have been associated with this network? And there are many of them over the years.
Yes, and I think you saw Glenn there today, emotional and basically crying. And for people, I suppose, looking at that, they'd go, oh, you know, it can't be that bad. But what I think people don't realise here is that this network was built on the back of goodwill. Not only goodwill from the journalists and news producers that worked here, but the goodwill of others. Companies who supported it, you know, organisations who gave us interview right back in my time, Ansett New Zealand pilots that flew tapes from Queenstown to Christchurch. It was built on all this goodwill. And it created a great esprit de corps amongst the troops. We didn't get paid as much as, you know, TVNZ journalists, but it didn't matter because we had this great culture here. And I guess today, that's gone.
Yeah, and that's why it's such a tough day, isn't it, Mark Jennings? Thanks so much for joining us here on Lates.
Pleasure.